Hi, Tom Walls, Carbide Processors. Got a nice email from a gentleman named Ed Gerhardt who says I crack him up, which I know I have a good time. Anyway, he's thinking about buying he's a forest man. He's been buying forest for years. He's thinking about buying one of our world's best saw blades next time, which is really flattering. So I thought I ought to address the issue. Let me start out by saying that Jim Forrest is one of my heroes. Jim Forrest did some really creative engineering and came up with a beautiful saw blade. We looked at it. This blade I've been waving around is one I bought. I went online as a customer, bought it December 31st, 2003. So we bought it to look at it. We've examined it. We can make a blade with the Forrest engineering with a real narrow side clearance and the rasp effect behind the tips and the narrowed ground shoulders. We don't get much call for them because Forrest does a beautiful job, and if you want a Forrest blade, buy a Forrest blade. We took a different approach. Alright, this is not a criticism. Everybody who makes something, whether you make furniture, whether you make saw blades, whether you make anything, you have to decide on what kind of a tool you're going to make and for what purpose. Jim Forrest wanted to make a blade that he could sell at shows. He went with a real narrow side clearance, the difference between the width of the tooth and the width of the steel. They went with a special rasp-like grind behind the shoulder, which gives a very, very good cut. The problem we have is that our background is industrial. The side clearance on the Forrest blades is narrow, and there's rubbing, there's fiber spring back and rubbing. So if you use a Forrest blade the way it's designed at home, it'll work well. If you try and use it in production where you're feeding constantly, the blade will heat up, which is not good for saw blades. But that's it. Jim Forrest was a hero of mine. He got into the engineering side of how to make the saw blades. I went the material science side. One of the things I always hoped was that someday Forrest blades would come out with my advanced material tips on them. And with a blade this good, how do we say ours is the world's best? It's been 30 years. It's been about 30 years since I saw Jim Forrest Sr., the founder, do a show up in Seattle with his blades. And they're essentially the same blades as then. They're still using the same carbide. We're using advanced grades of carbide. Beyond that, and the fact that we're using advanced grades of carbide that give you smoother cuts, handle the heat better, give you much longer life between sharpenings, do a better job severing fibers. Beyond that, you get into a matter of opinion. But that's it. Big respecter of Jim Forrest. Really do think our blades are better. Wanted to clear the air about who's better, Forrest or us. Our saw blades give cuts every bit as good or better than a Forrest, and that's what users tell us. And the big thing is we're using technology that's 30 years more advanced. So that's it. Ed, glad you like the videos. Take care.